Hey everyone, I wanted to do a solo episode or kind of on a personal topic because this is something that I've experienced myself, and it's something I'm still working on, and it was burnout. Um, and it's kind of a vague term, but there's different lots of kinds of burnout, and there's a lot of contributing factors, especially in my case. There's the mental, emotional, and physical burnout. You know, um, I mean, from it might be different for other people. For me, it kind of just I can kind of feel it. I know I'm not like. I mean, to be honest, I'm still recovering from chronic illness, and that's a big contributing factor. On top of that, I have mental health issues, which are tied into that, and complex trauma and stuff like that. So that also ties into that. Um, and yeah, and so I've been doing things a little bit differently. You know, I don't think there's nothing wrong with burnout. I think it's pretty common, and especially in the Western United States. I think there's a bunch of contributing factors. I know in the past, and I do kind of have a low stress tolerance, so that's something I have to mitigate and kind of figure out on my own is how do I kind of deal with that, and then also address like the burnout and stuff like that. But there's a lot of different stuff. I can't get into too much because some of it's a bit personal. But definitely family, kind of isolation, and friends or lack thereof is contributing. Um, but yeah, I definitely have it in a bunch of different forms. I don't think this is, unless you can maybe adrenal burnout or something like that. And that is kind of, I think, a good starting point is to kind of work on the physical side more, and then kind of address some of the other burnout and other stuff like that. So one thing I have been taking, because I've been working with an herbalist some in the past, and I've kind of picked up a few things, is taking a fair amount of ashwagandha, like a tablespoon or so, like once a day. That seems to be helping, especially like kind of adrenal wise and energy wise, and even like brain fog and stuff like that. But there's also other stuff you can do. You know, I'm a real big fan of like not as much anymore, but Timothy Ferris, but also his like how he kind of lives his life and stuff like that. But also draw upon some other people is that being busy doesn't mean you're being productive or even effective or efficient. And I think there's a distinction that people need to learn and kind of figure out on their own. But being busy all the time, and I've nothing against hustle culture, but I think it also needs to be balanced with having like kind of a full balanced life, like having hobbies and having interests and having days or time where you're literally just not doing anything. Not everything needs to be a grind. Not everything needs to be a hustle. And I think that's actually how you become more productive, on like a per task per hour basis. Is a lot of people, especially me, like as you're kind of indoctrinated or social conditioning through school and stuff like that, is that you always need to be working and productive and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of the most productive people actually, some of them do work a lot, like Elon Musk, but they also delegate, and they kind of are smart about it. They build systems, and they can automate it, but also like outsource it and stuff. Like I've used virtual assistants in the past, and I've used AI. I'm starting to use more AI and stuff like that. And so, but the physical is kind of a good spot to start out with, and there's like simple things you can do, and some of it leads into the mental, emotional, and stuff like that, like doing relaxing, restorative stuff, like and even self-care kind of stuff, if you want to say that, like Tai Chi and yoga, which you can do on your own, and restorative yoga, more emphasis on that, and qigong, but also chiropractic and like acupuncture I feel is really helpful, and even massage. And there are like cheaper free options Like I found group acupuncture is relatively cheap, and even like I can do like unlimited for like 20 a month or something. And chiropractic, I actually found a chiropractic college that I get free adjustments and stuff like that. And it's not ideal, it's not the best, but it's better than nothing. But also community and connection as well too. You know, because I'm kind of juggling not only this but my other YouTube channel, my streaming, delivery, gig apps and stuff like that, and medical courier, which I do more my day job, and also trying to fit in like other stuff as well too, hobbies and such. But yeah, I think rest is important, especially if you're dealing with chronic illness and stuff like that. I would say more like 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and then like napping slash meditating, depending on. For me, it's hard to wind down, and it's hard for me to just take a nap, but I can easily meditate and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely something I've dealt with over time, and it's something I'm still working on. I'm still like learning about. Everyone is kind of different. Everyone can maybe respond to things differently. I would say also like electrolytes and stuff like that, and minerals can also help, especially like magnesium and potassium and salt can not only like hydrate your body better, but also can help relax your nervous system and stuff like that. But also stuff like grounding and earthing. Like I use a earthing kind of like pillowcase, but I also like sometimes will just walk barefoot, and other stuff like that that can help relax your nervous system as well too. I think animals and stuff can help too, just like connection and stuff with them. But anyways, yeah, and definitely like being sustainable, and it matters much more than like intensity and stuff like that, and being productive. You know, if you feel like there's kind of a balance between pushing yourself and being disciplined, but also knowing that when you need to like rest and relax and do something fun and stuff like that. And I think that's really missing from a lot of people, especially if they have chronic illness, is they don't have a lot of seems like a lot of fun, and that can vary from person to person depending on your where you're at physically and mentally and stuff, and also financially. You know, it can be simple as like going to a concert, but also like, you know, just watching TV or playing video games, or just going out and doing something. It can really, but yeah, and I'm also learning or trying to apply more like nervous system regulation. I know a little bit of like some exercises that calm me down. I do use lens, which I feel helps, and I know like some like EMDR, which kind of helps with some too, but also some other eye movement and some other stuff as well too. You know, but other stuff like humming and singing and stuff like that. But also dancing, I think, can also help too. But I do feel like doing stuff like energetically, like to move energy as well too, especially if you feel stuck. Because I definitely feel very, like, as well, along with burnout, kind of like stuck. But I do use like Tai Chi and Qigong and stuff, which I feel like moves energy and stuff like that. I know that's a bit woo-woo, a bit metaphysical and out there, but I find it important. But yeah, also like good dieting, nutrition, and stuff like that, which I would say is still kind of like a paleo template. I do think, especially when it comes to like physical and adrenal burnout, is carbs are kind of more important, but kind of the right kind and the timing of, such as like probably more from fruits and maybe beans and rice. I feel, because those are so more easily digestible. I don't think such like oats and whole grains and stuff is necessarily the best. Maybe some sprinkled in, and I guess seeds and nuts do have some carbs as well too. And also I think starches, if you kind of tolerate them, or I think like potatoes and especially stuff with like sweet potatoes as well too. And they do help kind of later at night, especially if you're have like sleep issues and insomnia and stuff like that. But I mean, aside from ashwagandha, some herbal or other recommendations is phosphatidylserine. I take at night, and that kind of helps with adrenals. I feel like glycine also helps too, although that can affect methylation and stuff. Definitely taking in a fair amount of B vitamins can also help too, because that can help support methylation, but also help with energy and energy production in the body. I think, I think for the most part that's about everything I can think of that I do. I do think sulfation and sulfuration, I believe, can help, and that's simple ways you can do it is by eating like sulfur-rich foods like broccoli and stuff like that. But also doing like Epsom salt baths, but also using like MSM either as a supplement or which is a form of sulfur, and you can take it topically, you can take it as a supplement, you can add it to Epsom salt baths. The other thing is the MSO, which I've actually been adding to castor oil when I've been doing castor oil and castor oil packs. But you can also add this to enemas. You can also add that to Epsom salt baths and stuff like that to introduce more sulfur. And I definitely feel it's definitely rejuvenating, healing. And do it as much as you can. Like Epsom salt baths, you can take probably once, if not more, a week. But the MSM and the other stuff you can do probably more. Like you can incorporate coffee enemas. You can do that with the castor oil, which also helps it penetrate into your body and tissues easier and better too. So not only do you get the sulfur benefit, but you also get like the deeper tissue healing with the castor oil. And it kind of is kind of symbiotic in nature, I think. But yeah, also I think, I guess mitigating but avoiding like stressful but also toxic situations. And this, I realize sometimes people are stuck in situations or workplaces or even relationships that are difficult to get out of. But as much as you can create even some space or maybe as much as possible like lower that or get out of those situations. But I also feel part of it has to do with like boundaries and stuff like that too, because sometimes if you're very much a people pleaser and you say yes to everything, you're not really saying yes to yourself, I guess, matter of speaking. Not trying to be deep or anything. But a lot of times, learning when and where to say no, and really like taking your health as a priority and making it a priority, I think is important. Let me see. And also, working on like better sleep and recovery. I do quite a bit to help enhance. I do like castor oil, but I also do a number of other things too. I typically take a hot cold shower. I take a number of supplements. I do use edibles with CBD and CBN and some THC, but I'm trying to transition more to CBD and CBN. I think melatonin can also help, liposomal, especially liposomal, but also topically can also help. And I do take like some antihistamines just because I feel it helps with my overall sleep and everything. But yeah, Burnout is no joke. I think it's also um, often an indication of like um, doing too much, but also doing too much of the wrong things, or doing too much that's like burning you out. Especially if you're working or doing work or jobs that don't really. I get that people need to survive and stuff like that, and people need money, but also you have to like go after what you really want and like work and do what you really want as well too. Um, and be around people that are actually like generally positive and supportive and stuff like that. Um, and also, I guess, healthy, somewhat healthy, quote unquote, as much as possible. Um, because sometimes, like, the environment, like, if you're in a bad environment, it can really be hard to, like, kind of heal and recover from this, especially on your own. I think healing is, like, kind of more of a community project and stuff like that, and that you can community and resources and stuff to heal from. And if you are feeling like burnout or something, you likely need to, change. Sometimes it's just a perspective thing, like meditation and like reading like philosophical stuff like Stoicism and Buddhism and stuff like that can help sometimes. Just this perception or perspective change of that can help. Therapy can help. I'm not a huge fan of talk therapy and stuff. I think other forms can be more helpful. I do think plant medicine could also be a good intervention, perhaps, even like a microdose, because if you're feeling like really burnt out and you're like mentally on edge, I don't think doing like a macrodose of, say, mushrooms or even something else like maybe like DMT or ketamine is the likely. But you can definitely microdose and do a lower dose and see how you respond, and I think that will help. Anyways, I hope everyone finds this helpful. If anyone is dealing with this themselves, feel free to reach out. I can always see if I can be assistance or I can help, or at least I can point you in the right direction, and it's like free or no cost and stuff like that. I have my Zcal, but I also have my email, so you can contact me, sign an article. You can reach me through social media as well too. I have a number of different social media. Yeah. See you all next time.